Warning: this tutorial is designed specifically for new players to grasp the basic mechanics of Virtua Fighter as easy as possible. To keep things simple and beginner-friendly, some detailed mechanics have been intentionally skipped and will be covered in future videos.
Hi everyone, this is Rental Animator. The first chapter of the Ultimate VF Beginner's Guide Level 1 got a great reaction on YouTube and X. Thank you so much. Since making this video takes a ton of time and effort, it means a lot. In the last video, I explained the rock, paper, scissors triangle relationship in VF. From the fundamental, I'd like to take you to the detail of offensive and defensive choices this time. I will progress slowly step by step. Please bear with me. I won't leave you behind. Now let's get started with Ultimate VF Beginner's Guide Level 2. Attacks. The most exciting part of fighting games. Like we talked about in Level 1, VF gives you two options to attack, strikes and throws. For strikes, they can be divided into three unique types, each with its own flair. To explain their strength, let's take a quick detour to talk about the concept of frames. If you've ever watched fighting game streamers or tournaments, you might have heard people talking about frames. So what are they? To put it simply, frames are time counter for measuring the speed of attacks. The reason we use frames instead of seconds is that a single second is actually way too slow for this. Like, look at how many punches a character can throw in a moment. So describing the speed of punches in seconds just isn't practical. For this reason, we divide 1 second into 60 frames so we can say things like, oh, this punch takes 12 frames to hit. Just like that. Basically, it's about time and nothing complicated. Trust me, it's much easier than describing something as 0.01 seconds. For example, this jab takes 12 frames, making it the fastest strike in the game. And this high kick takes 14 frames. This means if the animations start at the same time, the jab will land first because it takes fewer frames to hit. Pretty easy, right? Frames also describe how much advantage or disadvantage you have at the moment, such as when you block your opponent's attack. As you know, the opponent has to retract their attack, giving you an advantage in time, and it is shown here exactly how many frames you can move earlier than your opponent for the next turn. If you get plus 8 frames, it means your opponent can start their next move only 8 frames later than you, which means basically you gain the bonus frames to do whatever you want without getting interrupted. And if you're the one who got blocked, you will have minus frames, meaning you can only act after those frames pass. For instance, the minus frames you got were 15, meaning any attack that takes less than 15 frames is guaranteed to hit your face 100%. We call this punish. Now you are ready to go back to variations of attacks. VF has many different types of strikes, but the important difference isn't about whether it's a punch or kick. It's actually about elevation of the attacks. Let's start with the high strikes. The most common high strikes are jab and high kicks. The advantage of these strikes is their speed. They are usually the quickest attacks. Since jabs are much faster than the other strikes, they can easily interrupt your opponent's attempt to execute other moves. They also tend to have the longest reach. The weakness is that high strikes are ineffective against standing blocks and won't hit crouching opponents. If the opponent is crouching, they don't even need to block your attacks. While high strikes can dominate other moves with the speed, they come with the drawback of being easily countered. Next, let's talk about low strikes. Low strikes target the opponent's legs, making them impossible to defend with standing block. Only a crouching block can stop them. Since a neutral stance is standing, your opponent has to intentionally crouch down to block them. They are relatively easy to land for the reason. However, the weakness is that low strikes tend to be very slow to execute. Some of them are even reactable to block, and when they are blocked, the minus frames are big, so it leaves you wide open for big punishment. On top of that, the damage tends to be very minimal, and some low strikes give you minus frames even when they hit. Because of these weaknesses, it's best to use low strikes sparingly, mainly to disrupt your opponent's focus. Last one is mid strikes. Mid strikes are another unique feature of VF and the most important strikes, I would say. So please listen carefully. The advantages are, unlike high strikes, they can hit crouching opponents. And most importantly, they cannot be blocked with a crouching block. Also, if you land mid-strike on the crouching opponent, You gain a large frame advantage. Even the typical elbow strike gives you +8 frames. Some mid-strikes even trigger a stagger situation, forcing the opponent to recover with fast multiple directional inputs. On the offensive side, this is a big opportunity. Honestly, they don't have much weakness. They are fast enough and it gives enough damage as well. For now, please remember that mid-strikes can only be blocked in standing stance, not a crouching one. Okay, we talked about high, mid, low strikes, and throwing is the next one. Throws are obviously different from strikes, but they are as important as mid-strikes actually. Besides throws are strong against blocking and weak against strikes, there are additional strength and weakness of them. An additional strength is that throws execute in just 10 frames, which is very fast. Yes, even faster than the jabs. Jabs are the fastest among normal strikes, but throws are the fastest of all attacks. Because of this, visually recognizing a throw's startup and reacting with a strike to counter it in time is practically impossible. And throws deal more damage than single strikes. Another important strength of throw is there is a mid-level defensive option called evading, which is very effective against the strikes, but throws can easily catch them. I will cover the detail of evading later, but please remember that throws are very powerful against both blocking and evading. The additional weakness of throwings: they don't work on crouching opponents. Just like high strikes, throws won't do anything against your crouching stance. One of the typical failure cases is if you dash in to throw an opponent who is standing and guarding, they often crouch just before the throw. Not because they visually saw the throw coming, but because they anticipated your intention. Because if you needed to strike them, you would have done it without dashing in. You could choose to strike right away with a long kick or something. But instead of that, you close the distance with a forward dash, so they know it's likely a throw. Another weakness is throw escape. When the throw lands on the opponent, it's actually not 100% guaranteed. If the opponent inputs the same direction as your throw while holding P+G, they can escape it. This is called the throw escape, and I will explain in more details as part of the defensive options in the next video. So far, I made throws sounds very weak, didn't I? But considering the amount of damage a single throw can deal and how quick execution is, things have to be balanced. That's why throws have many weaknesses. You will understand that it's a necessary option to win later on though. Thanks for listening these attack options, and now we can talk about the mind game called Nitaku. This is one of the key concepts in Virtua Fighter. Let's imagine a situation where you achieve a +5 frame advantage by blocking your opponent's attack. Now you are in this advantageous position. There are two main options you can bring to the table. First option is a mid-strike, and second option is a throw. Here's the important part. The strike has to be mid-strike. But why does it have to be? If you choose high or low strikes instead of mid strikes, what's gonna happen? The opponent can avoid getting damaged by all your options by simply crouching block. High strikes and throws won't even touch them, right? And low strikes get blocked. How easy is that to defend against? All they need to do is just wait with the crouching block and then punish you after you make non-effective move. So that's where mid strikes become so important. When you perform a mid-strike in an advantageous situation, the opponent is forced to stand to block because they cannot crouch to block them. But if you choose the second option, throw, the opponent must crouch to avoid being caught. This forces the opponent to choose between standing block and crouching block based on whether you will use a mid-strike or a throw. This is the strategic situation known as Nitaku, which the literal translation is two choices. From the opponent's perspective, they have to guess which cards you're going to choose and have to make the decisions in a quick moment. They have multiple choices to defend themselves, such as standing block, crouching block, striking back, or some other options. But what they need to care about is your choice of mid-strike or throw mostly. And if they successfully block your mid or crouch to avoid your throw, it becomes their turn to put you in a Nitaku situation. Now you are the one who has to make the decision to defend yourself. When this mind game happens between two players, it becomes incredibly fun. Even within a single round, Nitaku situation can be exchanged back and forth many times. The player who read their opponent's habits and intentions better will come out on top. Most of the movements in Virtua Fighter are simple and intuitive. Pressing P or K usually result in high strikes, pressing forward with them tend to be the mid, and pressing downwards result in low. Even though you need to react quickly, you don't have to deal with complex inputs like forward, down, diagonal P or anything like that. If you face someone who has no idea about this Nitaku system, you will dominate them easily. But if you meet someone who understands it, you will have an amazing time with deep mind-reading games. Thanks for watching VF Ultimate Beginner's Guide Level 2. In Level 3, I will focus on defensive options, including how powerful jabs in this game and how cool evading is. I'm super excited to share it with you all. If this video was entertaining and educational enough, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on X. And please share this video with people who are interested in VF. See you next time!